Top racers need an exceptional level of fitness, which takes a lot of physical effort, but actually making a plan and having the time to do it can make all the difference.
In this video, we're going to discuss how to make a training plan, and we've got an extra special guest of Annie Last, Olympic cross-country rider.
Step one of making a training plan is to identify your objectives. So this is trying to find the sort of fitness that you think you want to improve or that you need for the type of riding or racing you do. Annie, you're a top cross-country racer. How do you identify the weaknesses?
So I've been racing for a long time, so I have kind of an idea of what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at, but also I use maybe just riding or races to see what I need to improve. And then once I've identified that, we always go away and do like a kind of a base test of that thing. So it might be sprint or it might be more endurance, and then do the training program and retest at the end to make sure I've improved it.
You use things like heart rate, do you? Heart rate monitor and power?
Yeah, you use kind of a combination of heart rate and power. And depending on what specific it is that you're working on, you might use more the heart rate or more power, and test them at the start, test them at the end, use them in the middle. You've got a lot of structure.
So it's pretty fair to say that data is really important for top racers, but actually even things like heart rate monitors can be really useful for your average user, and trying to find out your maximum heart rate and therefore your training zones can really help with your training. So whilst this isn't essential for all riders, learning a little bit about training zones can really help you focus on what you want to achieve in your training sessions. Annie, would you go about planning your week around different training sessions focused on just one or two things?
Yeah, definitely. Depending on what time of the year it is and what the overall goal of that kind of block of training is, depends on what I put in. So this time of the year, kind of going into racing, and make sure that I've still got that lower end, kind of lower zone base endurance work, but also I'm starting to go into the higher zones and work on that kind of more specific race fitness as well.
So I guess personally I didn't know this when I was starting out riding, but actually a lot of racers will spend quite a lot of time going really easy, especially pre-season, just sort of spinning the legs and actually not getting that high up in the heart rates.
Yeah, definitely. To build your endurance and your base, if you go in absolute max all the time, you're not really doing that. You're working like a completely different muscular and cardiovascular system. So it's important to kind of get that steady work in as well.
Yeah, but also I guess mix it up to improve those different types of fitness.
Okay, so here we have a really scientific graph, and I'm going to use it to help explain kind of basic idea of zones. So here we've got heart rate and effort. Obviously, the more effort you put out, the higher heart rate's going to be. So if we say this is your kind of max effort, max heart rate, we'd call kind of this bit of the zone like your real top end capacity, and then we've got the middle bit, which is like a threshold effort, so uncomfortable and kind of that nasty bit where you're not going absolutely flat stick but it's hurting. And then we've got the lower heart rate, lower effort, and that's your base, so nice and comfy, nice to ride, have a chat, and work on your endurance. So those kind of your three basic zones you can look at working and use to create your program and move forward.
So I guess the hardest part about making a training program is probably scheduling it. Now, if you are going into the week, what is the best way to do it if you're working sort of a 9-to-5 job?
So I think if you've got a 9 to 5, it's really important that you maximise your time, obviously. If you can commute to work, that gives you a double day, which is like really useful. You can do quite a lot in that. So whether you commute and you add a couple of miles on or you put some efforts in, I think that can make it really simple to get the training in.
I guess after work is a really good opportunity to do an extra loop. When you finished work, your day is done, you're not in a rush to get anywhere, you have a relaxing ride back. But what if you've only got a very short period of time? Can you do a very intense hard turbo session, something like that?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to maybe improve your power for say some downhill racing or riding, or just that kind of really top end sort of short hard efforts, then a 20-minute turbo session, you can warm up, do kind of almost 5 minutes of intervals, really sharp on off ones, make yourself feel really sick, and then warm down, and in 20 minutes you've kind of improved your fitness and power.
When I raced enduro, I also worked as a mountain bike coach, so I had to balance the two things together. On a Monday, it was always a rest day. Tuesdays was a really hard interval session, often on the turbo trainer. Wednesday was a normal mountain bike ride with a few sprints thrown in there. Thursday back to intervals, and then Friday a mellow ride. Saturday and Sunday are often racing days.
A race season week for me, it'd look like Monday, a recovery ride, maybe 30 minutes or a couple of hours. Tuesday be a double day, a gym session in the morning, and then a nice, easy but useful technical mountain bike skills session. Wednesday, a couple more hours, more of that base work. And then Thursday, a split day again, so some kind of threshold in the morning and then more intervals in the afternoon. And then Friday, I'll probably be travelling to race. So maybe course training if I get there on time. Saturday, race prep ride, kind of touching all the things you're going to need for the race, and Sunday racing.
Cool, that's a lot.
Just training is never really going to get you anywhere. You've got to do that rest to adapt from the training and move forward. So in your plan, you're planning a rest day or a recovery day, but you also have to listen to your body as well. So I think if you're going to get serious into it, then you can maybe take your resting heart rate in the morning and kind of take a note of how you feel, whether you're feeling absolutely knackered or whether you feel kind of energised. If your heart rate's much higher resting than it should be and you're knackered, you're probably going to have to add in a bit more rest, otherwise you're just going to put yourself in a box.
It takes an awful lot of self-discipline to push yourself through those training sessions. How do you keep motivated, Annie?
For me, it's like a combination of having that end goal. So whether that's a race or improving and sort of working on getting this certain power. So on those days when you've actually not got the motivation, instead of trying to like motivate yourself, you just go, actually, I just have to do it. Maybe you don't want to do it, but you know that at the end it's worthwhile. So kind of just committing into it.
That's it. So I think setting goals is really important. Even if you're not a racer, how about setting a goal of riding the longest ride you've ever done or entering some sort of event?
So the other kind of probably most important bit is that you've got to make sure that your training program's fun and each individual session is so that you don't really have to motivate yourself because it's enjoyable. Yeah, probably the most important bit.
Yeah, have fun whilst you're doing it. If you want to check out some more videos, you can click up there for how to train for cross country.
Or if you want to check out my pro bike, click down here.
Click just about there to subscribe to GMBN, it's totally free.
And give us a thumbs up like if you like this.